Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Catherine Walters, the Joy Coach, and I'm so excited to welcome you to Joyful You Too. For I've gathered over 21 speakers who are here to share their wisdom, their very essence, as you'll see with my speaker today, and just their knowledge, experience with life, in so many ways that they can help you to bring out your joy, your playfulness, your creativity, and have more fun every day. Now, with me today is the wonderful Robert Clancy. And Robert is an entrepreneur, an inspirational speaker. He's an ordained minister and a published author, and he lives in the heart of upstate New York. He is also the co-founder and managing director of a business called Spiral Design Studio, and it's one of the largest full-service graphic and web design companies in the Northeast. Now, Robert's also written two books. His first is called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Soul, and his second is Daily Downloads and Fortune Cookies from the Universe, which he's going to share something from that today. So welcome, Robert. Thank you for being back and being here on Joyful You Too.
Well, it is such an honor to be back and to share in this wonderful topic. I love this topic of just having fun. So today I want to bring forth that.
Oh, awesome. I love it because not a lot of people can, just looking at you and the way you beam, you have this essence of fun. Now, we know there's a very serious quality about you as well, because especially when I say, okay, we know you wear so many multiple hats. It's hard to, we won't even keep count of them, okay? You can probably tell me the number, but I can't keep track of them. But the thing is, what I want to know is, how do you bring out your creative, playful, fun self?
Well, I don't think I have to bring it out. It's just there. So you can just tap into it. See, that's the big question. It's a mindset. It's never letting go of, I guess, you hear the old adage, never let go of the child within. Well, the child within is what you always are. And it's your very essence. It's your soul. And when you live life from that perspective, it's really looking at things that way, that it just naturally comes out. And I find that, in the worst moments, if you just have fun. I had, a dear friend. It was my best friend in this world pass away. And there were 5 of us that grew up together from pretty much first grade on. And we're at the funeral, and then we're at the gravesite, and the 4 of us that are remaining are the pallbearers. So we carry the casket and set it down. And my other great friend, he just doubles over in grief. I mean, he is crying the biggest, I've ever seen him, in that kind of grief. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't stop. And his wife was there. And I walked over, I put my hand on his shoulder, and I said, if our friend Jeff, who just passed away, was standing here, he'd say, why the hell do you have a Steelers hat on? Because he's a Steelers fan. And he's always had this lunchbox, the raincoat, the whole thing, from pretty much first grade. And he'd say, and I'd say to him, well, wouldn't you expect that? We've always known him to be like that. And as hard as he was crying, he burst out laughing. Aww. Right there. And that's the playful part. That's what you need to bring into life. It's understanding, looking at the two sides. And then he saw the humor of everything. And then it was as if Jeff was still there with us. Our friend was standing there because he was. Mm-hmm. And I needed to remind him of that we're always held, that there's always that connection and in those pieces.
Oh, I love that. And that's so beautiful. And that you are able to bring the humor. I mean, yes, you were also filled with grief, and yet you were able to find not find, but just to tap into, as you said, that humor. So I guess what you're saying is that the fun and the creativity, it's always there. We just need to tap into it.
Right. And I always look at that. All the creative force and everything is right outside of us. And I heard Paul McCartney say once, somebody asked him, how do you write all these songs, these number one hits, and, one after another? Every song you've written is amazing. And he just said, all the greatest songs ever written are all around us at all times. I just happen to reach out and grab one and bring it here. And it's about, bringing that manifestation into reality.
Beautiful. Love it. Okay. So now you tap into the fun and creativity all the time, but how do you make time for fun? The more fun. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just, I mean, you're laughing here, but you know, like what?
Yeah.
How do you make? I mean, because so many people are so serious all the time. So how do you do it, or what do you recommend?
I don't think you actually have to make time for fun. You just make fun. The time comes with it. It's just something. It is a state of being. It's. I joke around with clients. I joke around with my friends. All the time. You just point out. It's almost like a comedy show all day long, especially at my office. We're under a lot of pressure to get a lot of projects out. We're a web design and development firm. We have, we've worked on major projects like the Guitar Hero 3 launch and the community site, and there's a lot of things that go with that.
Sure.
But when you can break the tension with that humor, with a joke, we constantly rewrite the lyrics to songs that are on, or anything that can just bring that playfulness into what we're doing, and that's part of it. It's just a fun environment. And yeah, it does get high pressure, but when you can break that ice with something, we'll have a staff member come in and maybe they had a bad day or a bad drive in or something. And somebody will say, "Oh, we wearing our cranky pants today," just to bring it to their mind that, you don't have to be like that.
Oh, that's a beautiful reminder, and it's true. I mean, it's just that I remember. I know my own life when things have been really tough. It's like always, help me see the humor, help me laugh, and it really makes a big difference. And when we're able to do that, so tell us a little bit more about You said that when we lose a dear friend, your friend with Jeff was still there. And I believe that as well. I mean, just maybe not in a physical form. But how has that, you went through that whole experience. I mean, I know he was, I believe, ill for a while. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that, even though it was a huge loss, it became a joyful experience for really everyone?
Yeah, it was last year. He had cancer. It was a very rare form of cancer. It was on his optic nerve, and then started traveling.
Wow.
And he came up during the holidays. He lives in Philadelphia, and I'm up in upstate New York. So he was up visiting, and at our other mutual friend's house. And I saw him sitting there, and not only was that pain written on his face, I saw it on his family's faces. Mm-hmm. And it stuck with me. And I didn't say anything then. They just had that look of the stress of all of this, the weight of it. They kind of in the back of their minds knew, hey, we're winding down. We're getting, it's getting more serious. And it was written on. I just called him on the phone that week after he went back. And I said, I saw not only your pain. He goes, yes, I'm in a lot, and I'm very stressed. I don't know. I said, but more so, I saw it on your wife and your children's faces. And I said, that's not where that needs to be. I said, your legacy is right there, and how you face this is what they're going to have. We all don't know how much time we have. We could be gone tomorrow. I could be killed in a car accident tomorrow and be gone. But every day I live to what I am leaving behind, and that's your legacy. I said, so you need to face this head on. And I said, from this point forward, we need to be real. We need to talk real. We need to have open conversations about the difficult subjects that we're going to have. And over the course of this last year, I got to say everything I needed to say, and he did. So I was at peace. But not only that, but I didn't even know he was in the hospital at the end. And he was bedridden for 10 days. He lost the left side completely, almost like you have a stroke, but it was the cancer on his spine. And my other friend and I just jumped in a car. We drove down to Philadelphia. We were there in 4 hours, and we went into the hospital room. And I almost didn't recognize him because he was very swollen from everything, from being bedridden for 2 weeks. And he didn't want to worry us, so he didn't tell anybody. I walk in, and he just looks up. And in the same tone that I've always known him in his entire life, he's like, hey, Bob, how you doing?
Oh.
And then I knew we transcended that he was still in that mode. I'm still me. I'm still the playful person inside. And we still have our friendship above else. It's there. And that was just like there was no more pain, no more of that. And we just talked, and, that was the last conversation I had with him in person.
Wow. But that's so beautiful that you were able to reach him like way
Yeah.
back more in the beginning of his illness and share like and say like, but we've got to be real here, like just really brought it out in the open
Yeah.
and said like, because I know when like many years ago my mother passed, we didn't, it was the first time anybody dear to us was passing and so forth, and it was so quick and we were just all in shock.
Yeah.
We had absolutely no idea how to handle it. And so I love that you're sharing this. It's like, let's be real, let's have conversations and basically say everything we need to say. So can you share like maybe some of the topics of those conversations, or what came out, what ended up being important?
Well,
Besides your
I
friendship.
talked to him about family, about, I think the biggest thing that we focused on was legacy and mindset. First, there was legacy of how he's going to handle this. And when I saw the kids, I went to the hospital, and this is hours before he passed away. It was the day before we drove down and stayed overnight. And I walked in, and I didn't know what I was going to walk into. And I knew there was more of a success there, because his son and daughter looked at me and they're smiling ear to ear.
Oh,
And
wow.
they were
Wow.
happy. They were happy, even with little moments where, he had his eyes closed. He was no longer able to speak, could be unconscious, but he would squeeze their hand. And that was a big win. If they just felt a little movement, and they were there getting his fingerprints because they wanted to have something from him. And they were all happy that they were able to get good fingerprints because the swelling went down.
Oh, how
They could do
beautiful.
this. So these little wins there. And one of the things I always talked about, and it's a pretty funny statement, was, there's a cure for death. It's called life. You need to live every moment, because if you're not, then you're dying.
Right.
That's what we talked about.
Oh no, see can you share more? Because that's really true. Is a cure for life, a cure for death is life, and to really need to be living it. So what do you recommend to people so that they do really live life fully? How can they do that?
Well, I focus on one word, and it's love, because that's what holds everything together. It's like it is the thread that holds the fabric of the universe together. It's such a simple label that we place on something so deep. And laughter is life's melody.
I love that.
That's what we sing to. We are able to smile and laugh above all else, above all creatures on this planet.
And that's right. And I remember you saying that last time in the stress free zone, but that smile and laugh. That's so important. I mean, like you even mentioned about smiling at ourselves, or smiling to ourselves.
Correct.
But like that laughter, and again, that brings that, we can just like, I find myself at times, I'll say something silly to my cat and I just end up cracking up, or I'll say something silly to a friend or whatever, or I have fun words, like I call them funners and awesomers and silly things like that, happy crap, I just make up words and they always make me laugh. And that's so important because it just brings that fun element into it, but it also makes you smile and laugh. And I think those seem so simple. Sometimes the truth is just so simple. We want to blip it off and say, it's not important, but yet here you're saying that the smile and the laughter, what did you say? It's like it's
the melody of life.
The melody of life.
Yes. And I think of life, and this is how most people approach it, and depends on where your perspective is. Think of life like a beach. Like walking along a beach. Yes. Life is a beach. Okay. Things wash up onto it. You find things, you discover things. There are people on it that you'll come across. But some people look at that beach like a desert because they only see the sand. And if you just turn around, the ocean is right there at all times. And the ocean is love. And it washes up and you can go in it. You can swim in it. You can let it touch your feet. And it touches every shore. So you think about it, that your life is like a beach. And that ocean is always there washing up on it. It never stops. Does the ocean ever turn off?
No.
It doesn't. Yeah, and some days it can be stormy. Some days it can be calm. But most days it's beautiful, especially when you see that sunrise come up over it. So you need to turn around and look at things in a different way. And that's kind of the key. You can find beautiful things on that beach, including treasure. Things wash up all the time. But you need to pay attention to what those treasures are and look at the small moments of life and little things. Just how a child smiles, how two people are holding hands. And most people, when they're at the beach, are happy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. And it's meant to be that way. And yeah, if you didn't have the bad moments and the stress and things that you go through, then you wouldn't appreciate the great moments. And that's part of really immersing yourself into being happy and getting past those things. And I kind of look at those, and I can't say I'm perfect in every regard, but I've gone through some pretty difficult things. I just had a whole reminder of things that happened to me when I was 19, when I kind of went, where rock bottom is. And this was sort of a shadow of that because, I'm losing my best friend in my inner circle, and, some very close family members passed away. And it's been a pretty rough, 5 years of things, but you continue on and you discover and meet new people that come into that fold. And everything to me is like a circle, all parts of your circle. So just like the earth is spherical, your family and friends are all part of that circle. And that's a reminder that that circle's always changing and expanding.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, just everything you just said there, Robert, was just so profound. I mean, the beach and our life being a beach, and the ocean being love, which I was thinking of, our planet is, more water than it is land. And that love is that the ocean is just God's love for us. It's just like, it's always a reminder. It's right there. And just the whole piece was just so eloquent. So one of the things that with your books is you have these downloads and things. But I wanted to go to drawing guide with crayons, because I just love that idea. You do that in one of your workshops. So how would we use crayons, let's say, to bring out our creativity, play, and fun? Experience our joy. What would you recommend that we do?
Yeah, well, using bringing in that side of your brain, because I look at, I'm also very analytical as well as spiritual. So there's two halves, and I have spiritual Robert, and I have creative Robert.
Right, exactly. We need to make sure people realize that.
Robert.
Absolutely.
So I bring those together. But when you draw, and just think of it this way: if you're feeling stressed out about something, I heard once that you should make a list of whatever's stressing you out. I'd like to take it even further, that if you just take a crayon or something and draw what it is that is there, that's your stressors. Once you see it, and especially see it in the form of a crayon drawing, it really just brings it to what it really is. It's nothing. It really is nothing. Fear and worry are just elements that are out there, almost like the boogeyman that lives in the closet or what's under your bed, or that dark part. And I told you just before we started the interview, one of the quotes, and when you're mired in the shadows of despair, no, there's always a higher light source behind any darkness. You just need to turn around to see it. Mm-hmm. And when you can draw this element in that form and look at it, you're going to go and say, wow, that's not as bad as I thought it was. And why was I just letting my thoughts run rampant with this? And then it affects your dreams and your sleep and everything else. So when you can just address it, a lot of it, and it really does tie into ego, believe it or not. And I'm not talking about ego where you think somebody is just, smug and they're out there. It's about your ego. A lot of times, and I had somebody contact me the other day and they said, I messaged so-and-so, they didn't contact me back. I think they're mad at me. And I said, why don't you just call them again? Maybe they were busy, and you're making all these assumptions and stressing yourself out and think that your friendship's on the rocks. when you just contact them and it's your ego getting in the way of making that connection. And then you'll find out that it's nothing. And they said, I don't know. And an hour later, the person called them. They were extremely busy. They apologized. They didn't get back. And the person messaged me and said, you were absolutely right.
It's so true. Yeah, the ego does jump in the way and just wants to be in charge. And we go into making these assumptions. And of course, then that's all that worry and fear and doubt. And we can look around our world today and really just go with that. So that's the question. I mean, I don't know why this is popping up, but I'm going to ask you, with everything that's happening in our country and the world today, what do you recommend to people?
Well, you tune in. So think of yourself like a radio station and what you want to listen to. You can change the station, change your thoughts, and you just tune into something else. And really, as far as I'm concerned, everything that is happening today was happening yesterday and was happening last year and 3 years ago and whatever. Nothing is different. If I just sat in my office and looked out the window, the world would be exactly the same as it was the day before. Yes, there's things that are changing, because people are tuning into trying to make that change or to get affected by it. And that becomes the issue, not the issue. Right. So people can come together. There's a lot of things, and you just got to roll with that. But how often is this affecting you in your daily life? That's the question. And why is it? And what do you want out of that? So I really don't have the answer. I'm not going to tell you a political view or anything like that. That's for you to decide, but it's also for you to tune into what makes you feel good, what is appropriate for your life, and what furthers you. And I look at, again, to those circles, what doesn't serve you, don't eat it.
Exactly. It's like, to me, that is so true. I mean, it's like, I don't get many radio broadcasts at all. And it's like, don't listen to it. Turn the channel. You don't have to go on every social media thing and see what the latest is, or read every new, TV cast. It's not necessary, because it doesn't serve. So I really like how you said you brought it back to that circle of what is important to you. Like with your friend passing, it was family, it was connection, it was the real truth, being authentic. That's what's important, not all this other stuff. And I think when we are able to shift back to that, it makes a big difference.
Well, think of it this way. So when you go through the news, like you mentioned, and you hear things, a lot of times they don't have it right. It's what you hear, what you see. Your brain, and this is my psychology side. I actually have a degree in psychology, and we've done experiments. They had actually one class I was in. Professor speaking, we didn't know this was going on. He had somebody come in the room, walk through, who wasn't part of our class, take something and walk out. And out of everybody, this is 300 people sitting in this lecture hall. Not one person was able to accurately identify that person or what they saw or heard. There were differing opinions about whether an object was stolen, whether the person was part of the class, what they were wearing was completely wrong. Not one person had it right, because your brain interprets things differently. And when you're hearing, so when the news is coming in, they're getting bits and pieces of things and trying to report an accurate story or not. Who knows? They don't have all the facts, and sometimes they get it wrong, and they often get it wrong. So filter what you see.
Oh, that's a really important tip, to filter that. Excellent. I love that. Any other, and I'm putting you on this spot because you already shared one of your fortune cookie from the universe today already. So is there another one that pops in or not?
Well, I have a couple, and I wrote a few down. So I have live, laugh, love. And those are three important words that I think resonate for today. And as I said, there is a cure for death. It's called life. And living every moment in love and kindness is part of it. Laugh during the good times. But more importantly is to laugh again after the bad ones. And sometimes even laugh during those bad ones. So when you can just say, this is so awful, and find some little, it's almost like the silver lining in it, and laugh around that, your heart was meant to share that beauty with the world. And the only way you can do that is through love and laughter and by living in every moment in that. And yeah, it's hard to steer your car back to that. I know we've talked about, some people just say, I'm just going to let go of the reins and, God will guide me. That's great. That's your GPS, but you still need to drive the car.
Mm-hmm.
You can set a destination. So set your intention. So if you're really experiencing something and what you need in your life that you need to get by or whatever that is, whatever you're struggling with, set the intention. That's your GPS, and then drive toward that. So if your finances, are just in a complete, mess right now, and you're struggling with paying bills, set your intention that you need abundance to be brought in to be able to take care of this so that you can do the things that you were placed on this earth to do. And then you need to drive the car. You can't just sit in your house and hope the phone rings. You got to make some calls. You have to start getting out there and solving those problems. You need to ask for help. There are people who are willing to help as much as you may think there aren't. I know my grandmother used to tell me this. She said, when something good happens to you, hold it in for as long as you can, because then you can experience all of that joyous energy in you until you're just bursting and you have to tell someone. But when things that are bad happen to you, tell as many people as you can, because they're going to take a little piece of that away. And then eventually it's all eaten up and it's gone.
Oh, that's wonderful. Or you can say, oh, what a beautiful, again, it's so simple, but it is like, yeah, tell everybody the bad things so that they'll take a little piece away and that hold that. And, that's really sage advice, because so often we ignore the good things that happen. We don't even register them. We don't even like with a compliment, people don't even say thank you. And but yet here you're saying, take in those good things, like your grandmother said, and hold them in your heart and really feel them and experience them. Beautiful, wonderful, Robert. I love it. So I know you have a free gift for everybody. So can you tell us what that is?
Yes. If you go to signup.guidetothesoul.com, there's a form there, and I have, perfect for today, I have several meditations, guided meditations, which one of them is manifesting joy and manifesting love, manifesting peace. And I've written words that guide you through, and then there's a meditation with that. And also I have my third book, which is in digital form right now, and that is Love's Awakenings. And it's a collection of about 78 inspirational poems that are almost like mantras that you can use for your meditations. You can read them at night before you go to bed, and it kind of sets your mind in the right space, because they're all positive, they're all energizing. They deal with a variety of subjects, from everything from sorrow to love to peace, whatever it is. And you just open one up to a random page.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, how generous of you. And thank you for sharing both of those. Because I'm thinking like, I can't wait to enjoy them, because I think it's one of my practices is to read something that's really positive first thing in the morning, so I can start my day on a positive. And I just love that randomly pick something again, because it's fun. It's like, to me, it's a game. Just pick up, okay, what do I need to hear today? Or what's there? And it's playful, but it's also just what I find is I always get exactly what I need.
Yes.
And it starts like, so again, thank you, Robert. I mean, this is such a joy. You have shared so much with us today. Everyone, I really invite you to come back again and again during the course, especially during the replay period, to listen to Robert's talk again, because it's just such a wealth. Like he said, with the brain testing, we didn't get everything the first time around. We're going to need to hear it again and again. So please do that. And again, Robert, with all my heart, thank you for being here and just everything that you shared. What a gift that you are today, but a gift that you are to the world in every moment that you're here. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me back again. And I love doing these summits. So,
well, I will ask you again. I will, because we're just getting started. I could talk with you all day, but I know we don't have time for that. So anyway, again, everyone, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you again real soon. Namaste.